I think when it comes to a side hustle this year in 2021 and in 2022, a lot of individuals, their first choice is food delivery. Now, as someone who started their own side hustle in 2015 in this whole gig economy, I feel like, 2013, 14, up until probably 2017, maybe 2018, the number one niche really was rideshare. So it's like, all right, I want a side hustle. I'm going to do rideshare, right? I sign up for Uber and Lyft. Those were the hot apps. But again, in recent years, that trend has really concretely shifted as far as earnings to food delivery. And at least when polling our community here, the clear number one is DoorDash. Now in this video, I want to take you through specifically DoorDash's Q3 2021 letter to investors. I think there's some insights, there's some stats, and maybe some tipping points and clues of what DoorDash is doing for you as a Dasher into Q4 of 2021 and of course into 2022. So I want to highlight a few things here. And if you didn't know, this is from DoorDash's CEO, Tony Xu, as well as their chief financial officer. Now, this letter states, quote, over the last 2 years, we've reduced average consumer fees per order by 9%, increased average earnings per hour for Dashers by over 30%. So I'm thinking, all right, how since 2019 have they increased the earnings on average for Dashers by 30%? So I'm thinking number one, is it app optimization, algorithm really optimization? So when they're sending order requests to you as a Dasher, are they sending, higher paying orders, maybe higher base pay, which is just that, it's their base pay they're offering before any bonuses and incentives? And are they offering the best orders for drivers that are in that area as far as, okay, are you close to a restaurant and it's higher pay and less miles? Now, since 2019, if they are increasing earnings for you as a Dasher, we can think, well, with the whole pandemic, with maybe more individuals turning to DoorDash to make money, either on the part-time basis or a full-time basis here, if they can still increase earnings for Dashers over that pandemic, over at least, 2020, we'll say, I think that's a good sign. Now, they state our MAU, which is monthly active users, grew to a record high in Q3. Average order frequency in Q3 remained consistent with an all-time high reached in Q2 and increased by a double-digit percentage versus Q3 of last year. Now, we want more MAU, more monthly active users, because think of this. So if we have more and more consumers turning to DoorDash, either trying it for the first time or leaving a competitor to go to DoorDash, then we have more and more customers. Ideally, we don't see it spread here as far as over, let's say, the US market, but generally more monthly active users that you would think mean more monthly orders, as in more demand for you as a Dasher. Nextly, stating over 3 million people dashed in Q3. And this got me thinking, and I pulled up the article. It was from July 15th of this year in 2021. That stated between March and September of 2020, 1.9 million new Dashers joined the DoorDash platform. So remember, it says over 3 million people dashed in Q3, but over the trend of the last 2 years and quarter over quarter, earnings still increased. Now, I would anticipate in Q4 of 2021, which we're basically just finishing, into Q1 of 2022, that we should see spending at least level off or peak maybe in Q4, but I do anticipate a slight tapering and a decline of Q1 of 2022. Now, something that I always see discussed, and maybe you're just kind of thinking this maybe in the back of your mind here, is again, competition, other Dashers. So DoorDash states trends in Dasher applications and the number of new Dashers in Q3 remained consistent with trends in the first half of the year. So again, that July article that we saw that I just stated, that stated they had 1.9 million new Dashers in 2020. I think that was a big spike, kind of early pandemic shutdowns, maybe those that are losing their job and they're turning to ways to make more money. I think that was a big spike. And again, I think that is really 2020. I don't think we're going to see an exceptional spike in new Dasher applications. And we really see DoorDash confirming that here as well. Now, some stats about you and other Dashers. DoorDash states July 2021 in a survey, that's their most recent Dasher survey, 60% of Dashers had other full-time or part-time jobs or were self-employed. An additional 26% were students, retired, or full-time parents or caregivers. Additionally, 64% of Dashers said a main reason they dash is because, quote, it allows me to supplement my income whenever I need to. So statistically, again, this is the most recent Dasher survey here, is a lot of Dashers, frankly, the majority of Dashers are doing this to either supplement income or honestly, this did continue with more stats to just simply cover the living expenses or just day-to-day general income needs. It states 79% of Dashers say their top financial goal when dashing is to pay monthly bills like rent, mortgage payments, or car payments. Let us know down below in the comments if that is the main reason that you dash. And I mean, I've done it full time. I've done it full time when I was relying on it really to pay all of my bills in this just gig economy income in general. And now, I do the gig stuff, and I've done it prior as a part-time, as a, again, kind of a side gig work. Now, the letter continuing stating 52% of Dashers said they have dashed to avoid applying for government assistance programs. Many of these periods are transitory, and we believe the accessibility and flexibility of dashing allow it to meet people's needs in a way that traditional structured work does not. Basically saying, hey, if you're in a situation that you need, really, that's the key word, you need to dash to make money, in this case, to avoid applying for government assistance programs, that sometimes, at least what DoorDash is saying here, is that's temporary, and they really believe that DoorDash satisfies that income in a way that traditional structured work necessarily would not. And I agree with that. I mean, when I was doing this full time, it was in San Diego at the time, it was after being let go from a job. And I had the unemployment and I could make at least something, just enough to still qualify for that unemployment, but I could still make some money. And an easy way, really with a low barrier of entry, was the gig economy and apps like DoorDash. So having said that, let's get into DoorDash's prediction and ultimately my prediction, warning signs and trends into Q4 and ultimately into 2022. So DoorDash says our Q4 outlook, again, we're kind of finishing Q4 right now, but our Q4 outlook also anticipates the continued normalization of retention and order frequency among newer and lesser engaged cohorts as in-store dining and holiday travel resume. So think of this. Again, the name of the game here is really that MAU mentioned prior. It's that monthly active users. If DoorDash, and really any app, I mean, you can apply this to really any side hustle gig app, is if they can have more monthly active users, it's either on the Dash Pass or whatever they call it, or the Uber Premium, whatever they're calling their paid, delivery subscription platform. But if they can have those paid subscribers, or at least more MAU, more monthly active users, placing at a, what they said, higher frequency, that's another thing that they're focusing on. So a frequency among newer and lesser engaged cohorts. So if I use, DoorDash as a customer here and there, if they can bump me up from 1 order per month to, and there's some stats on this in this letter, to 1.5 orders, I'm ordering a little bit more, or 2, 3, 5 orders per month, what does that do? Spread that across different consumers, across marketplaces. So now, ideally, I'm getting that MAU user to order more per month. And ideally, the growth for DoorDash running company is to get more new users. That's what they're specifically stating here, what they're focusing on in Q4. So that's really the double-edged sword there in a good way. If I can get more retention of new users, I can keep them on the platform, ideally get them on a paid subscription so that really commits them to solely using DoorDash. I mean, I'm paying for their monthly subscription. That's what I'm going to use. And at the same time, if they can increase not only the new users, but the consistent users to order more per month, All of that means more orders, more demand in that marketplace, ultimately more demand for you, for Dashers in general. And think about this. If there happens to be an imbalance in your marketplace, they're getting that demand from customers, but still for some reason, they're just not quite bringing on Dashers in the way that they really need to answer that demand. And that's going to mean more bonus pay, more challenges, more peak pay for you as a Dasher. So here's what I would do. Here's what I would look for in 2022. And this is really most any food delivery app. Now, number one, I would not anticipate a massive spike in, let's say, bonus pay, because bonus pay is the big thing. All right, can I get $3 peak pay? Can I get exceptional, crazy? Actually, we saw like a crazy $25 peak pay, or even just a $7 peak pay this past weekend here in Pittsburgh. Now, what I anticipate is your marketplace isn't going to jump up like a crazy amount for bonus pay in 2022. It's not going to go from $2, $3 average peak pay or just general bonus pay to like $5 or $6. Just, in 2022, it's just not going to happen. But what I will look for is different trends. So as DoorDash works on this here in Q4, into Q1, really Q2, I'd say especially of 2022, if DoorDash can get more MAU, monthly active users, then I would look for, as long as, the applications for Dashers doesn't spike for some reason, I will look for more bonus pay, more peak pay at that point. So I'll leave you with this. Just generally, a lot of these gig apps are very volatile. They're operating typically on a very tight margin of trying to save the customer money, but also having a good margin there of what they're charging the customers and what they're paying their independent contractors on any niche. There's a very tight margin there. And we've seen apps go. We saw Sidecar close in the rideshare space years ago. We've seen Amazon restaurants close from a behemoth, from Amazon. They could not even succeed in the food delivery space. Amazon restaurants closed as well. So we saw Caviar. This is another one. Caviar just got acquired as well. So I anticipate it is going to continue to be a very tight race, which means that one app can't afford to pay you a ton of bonuses in 2022. So I think the winner at this point with DoorDash is going to be from market share, and it's going to be from the new acquisition from new customers. And I think DoorDash is well positioned to do that. And the short of it is, all of that means more earnings opportunities for you in 2022. So if you got value in this video, you can definitely drop me a like, and you can also click or tap screen here for my newest video, as well as a video recommended for you, and I'll see you in the next one.